AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
From our virtual studios in the Netherlands
and Camarillo, California, comes a brand new episode of the greatest marketing podcast on planet Earth today, the Marketing Geeks.
That's right. And today's show is amazing, folks. We have got some marketing news for you, and we have the next part of our 7-part series.
6-part series. But who's
our
counting?
6-part series. That's right. It's the Marketing Geeks show, everybody. We are going to teach you some techniques, give you the latest news, business development, and it's going to be amazing. It will change your life in strange and mysterious ways, and I guarantee you will leave empowered.
With your hosts, Justin Womack and the incredible, the amazing, the awesome, and always entertaining Andros T. Sturgeon.
Yes. And now, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Marketing Geek Show has begun. Hello, everybody. It is an epic day. I am excited, man. I mean, they just keep getting better. It's like an amazing time to be alive.
That's right.
Man.
And today, like you mentioned and alluded to, today is part 4 of our Influence Pattern Secrets miniseries focused on the book titled Influence by Robert Cialdini. And today we are going to be talking about the magical powers of
beans,
social compliance.
No.
What were you going to say?
The magical fruit.
So we're talking about consensus and compliance. And so, yeah, the magical food, we're not talking about that, but we could. Maybe we'll do a separate episode on that, and then it will become the 7-part series that you promised our viewers.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
We have some shout outs that we got to give, man. Like some super big shout outs.
That's right. First and foremost, we want to give a shout out to our newest donor, Jessica Wynn. Thank you very much for giving to the show. And as a result, we did send her a couple of the webinar recordings. If you too want to listen to our past webinar recordings and become a supporter of the Marketing Geeks podcast, here's how to do it. Click the link in the show notes, contribute $1, $5, or $20, and you can get access to special benefits. If you go to our Patreon page, it'll actually list out the different benefits that we provide to our listeners because we love you.
Yeah. And you know what? It allows us to save up to pay for an intern's coffee. Right now, the intern gets dirty water out of a dog bowl. So
the intern's really thirsty.
He is. Well, the intern's a dog, but you know, that's what's going on, right? So for all the people that have been donating and reaching out to us, thank you. Your love has definitely helped us, given us inspiration to continue to make the show better, and we will continue to do that. Along with some special guests. Next week, we're going to announce our next webinar. So stay tuned for that. This is open to all of our 7 listeners. And we're going to do some interesting stuff next week. And without further ado, how about some of that marketing news? There's some cool stuff happening.
Marketing news.
I came across this story. Marketing news. Vimeo has just integrated with LinkedIn to enable video publishing to company pages. So Vimeo announced on Monday to have end-to-end integration with LinkedIn via its publish to social feature. So this is kind of cool because, if you don't know, Justin and I are big fans of LinkedIn. It's our favorite social platform in the world. And we love it. We have taught many people how to improve their LinkedIn profile, and we want to teach you how to do that too. In fact, probably going to do a webinar in the future on how to do that. But the interesting thing about this is that a lot of companies don't really know what their proposition is, like how to communicate who they are and what they do to the public at large. So being able to publish directly to your business page is kind of neat because you can create a really fantastic video that explains who you are as a company. And instead of just kind of sharing it, you can embed it onto your, with Vimeo, onto your LinkedIn company page. So that is a cool thing. Utilize that. If you have any questions about how to tell a story, you can always reach out to us because we love telling you about that. In fact, if you become a donor, we will give you a private one-on-one on how to do that. And we actually, Justin and I charge money for this.
I would hope
usually,
so.
Right? Don't we?
The rules on this, so you have to become a donor at $20 per month to get access to, it's a group call, but you get access with a private group call for any of our donors at that level with us once a month for up to 1 hour, depending on how much you need to use it or what your questions are. You get access to us for 1 hour a month. So anyone that wants to, that way you're supporting the show, you're getting awesome benefits, and it's well worth it. So next story of the day here, Andros, is that a report has come out. This is according to TechCrunch, that live streaming TV services, the viewing hours on those devices have grown 212% year over year. So we're talking about, this is for like smart TVs or devices like Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick. And these account for 56% of viewing habits right now. So this is kind of showing the demise of traditional cable that continues. I mean, I think traditional cable has been on a downward trajectory now for quite a long time, but we're seeing that the death knell is ringing, and we are seeing that other than the fact that the cable companies still control the cable modems, I think they're in trouble outside of their access to controlling the internet. So we might be seeing, I'm anticipating that they're going to be like raising the price of internet if they can do that. I don't know what kind of regulation in place. Oh,
they could do whatever they want. I mean, I used to work for the one of the most loved companies in America, and I can't say the name, but it rhymes with Comcast.
One of these days, you're going to tell me who it is.
And I will, but I need to. I signed an NDA, so I can't tell you. But what they used to do is every year they just increase the cable, the price of the internet. They tried to do these things where they would put caps on it, where if you went over 300 gigabytes, they would charge you extra. And they're just trying to find ways to make money off of you, the general public, because they make a ton of money off the internet, but they actually they're starting to lose money off of cable. And that's why when you go to purchase your internet package, they will tell you that it's going to be cheaper with cable, because then they can continuously say that they're gaining subscribers, but it's all smoke and mirror.
I know they always try to get me to add cable in my subscription. But, I'm always getting those calls, but I'm like, no, I don't want it. I just want internet. And I'm up to, because I pay for the most expensive. I have 300 megabits per second on my internet, which I don't actually even get, I don't think, because of the way my setup is. But the point is, I pay for it, and I'm paying $100 a month just for that. Nothing else. No cable. No other benefits. So thank you, cable company, for $100 internet.
Yeah. Right. And you pay it. And you know what? If they raised it to 110, what are you going to do? Go to the other internet cable company?
Yeah, I'm going to pay. It's actually, I mean, of all the expenses that I have, it's the most valuable for my business. So I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I shouldn't say this out loud because they're probably listening, because I'm sure that Comcast or whatever rhymes with that is one of our major listeners here. So I shouldn't be saying
one of our seven listeners. Could be. I actually, believe it or not, I do have cable, and that's simply because it helps me learn Dutch. So I watch a lot of these dumb reality TV shows all in Dutch, and that it can leren mijn Nederlands te spreken. So there you go. That's the only purpose it has. I know, isn't it? Amazing. So in other news, G Plus is going down. The Google's long attempt at trying to get into the social media game is going down in flames after they had a huge hack that had been going on for several years, actually. And they just tried to downplay it. But, if you had a Google Plus account, which everyone did, if you had Gmail, then most likely you had some of your data compromised. And so they're shutting down G Plus for consumers, but keeping it open for businesses.
The thing is with G Plus, it's been a ghost town for years. The only reason that I've had a G Plus account was for SEO, because Google controls SEO. They control the number one search engine, and having a Google Plus account previously helped with that a little bit. But other than that, nobody actually uses Google Plus, or it never really took off. So it's pretty much been just a ghost town anyway. So I think it's a good product. It's about time to retire that product. So
yeah, absolutely. So Google Plus is going to die, and the internet goes, huh? Okay. So
what's Google Plus?
Yeah. Exactly. So, what other stories do we have here? What's going on in the world? In the world of
marketing, I got one more marketing story, and then we can kind of get into our main topic of the day. But the other marketing story that I wanted to bring up is that this company Edo, or EDO, I don't know if it's the acronym or if it's called Edo. They're a startup that uses consumer behavioral data from search engines and shopping sites to measure effectiveness of TV ads. They raised $12 million in Series A funding. But you know what's most fascinating about this entire story?
Do tell.
Edward Norton, the star of Fight Club and movies like The 25th Hour and The Incredible Hulk before he was replaced by another actor. He is the co-founder of the company. And it's kind of interesting that they're pulling data from search engines and shopping sites to get better effectiveness of television ads, which is somewhat interesting because we just talked about how TV industry is dying. But for years and years, I mean, everything is based on Nielsen ratings, which are a pretty arbitrary metric because it's really just looking at a series of Nielsen boxes and assuming that they take that data and extrapolate it out to a wide population and assume that those are accurate numbers. But really, there's probably a better way to track that stuff and better analytics that can be had with the current state of technology. So I think, I imagine that that's kind of where they're going with this. It's interesting. Any thoughts there, Andros, other than the fact that you're a huge Edward Norton fanboy?
Yes, absolutely. And, I think good for him because now that he had to find new work after losing his Bruce Banner gig, I actually, I was doing market research for a company called National Research Group, NRG, which is a subsidiary of the Nielsen Group. So I worked for Nielsen for a bit. Actually, I worked for them for a decade. And yes, there is kind of a gap to figure out user engagement between watching television and how people, watch TV and, what they do on social media. One indicator is, of course, Twitter. But, I don't feel Twitter is as relevant as it used to be. But most people watching TV, I saw a statistic, I think it was like 80% or 89% of all people who watch television watch it with a device in their hand. So that's kind of interesting. But I think if Edward Norton could figure out how to, connect that bridge between like social engagement versus TV watching, and he's kind of cracked that nut, then maybe he can figure out how to keep himself from turning into the Incredible Hulk.
Well, I mean, in the Incredible Hulk, he played a pretty brilliant scientist, so I imagine that he's exactly that same way in real life.
Yes, because we all know the Incredible Hulk was a documentary.
That's right.
So, all right.
I'd like to get into our main subject of the day. How does that sound?
I think that sounds great. So why don't you give us a kind of an overview of where we have been?
Okay, so this is part 4 of our series on the influence patterns as laid out in the book Influence by Robert Cialdini, which I said in the intro here. But so far, we have covered the principles of authority. And just I'm going to give you like a 1-sentence summary of each of these. So authority is the idea that you're building credibility. I always say that in the past, we have been in like a credentialing society where credibility was reserved for people with credentials like MBAs or PhDs or MDs. But nowadays, you can do it through alternative means. Like you can write an ebook and become an author. So being an author isn't as hard as it used to be. The barrier to entry is lower on some of these things. You could become an author. You could become a speaker. You can host a podcast. All of these things are ways of building credibility in alternative ways. So we talked a lot about that on that episode. So you can go back to episode 19 on authority. Episode 20, we talked about reciprocity. And the idea here is that what you give, you're going to get back. When you give to your customers, it creates a subconscious sense of almost like guilt in the brain, and they want to do something back for you. When you give something to someone, people naturally, intuitively like to give back to people that give to them. So even if they're giving information and giving value, people want to give value back. So that can translate to sales. It can translate to referrals. It can translate to a number of things. That was covered in episode 20. And in episode number 21, we talked about what was our last one?
Scarcity.
See, it's so rare that I almost forgot about it right there. So we talked about scarcity in episode 21, which is the idea that as things become more scarce, the value increases. So if I tell you that something is available for a limited time, it becomes more desirable because it also creates a sense of urgency that you're going to need to act now. Or if I tell you that there's only a certain number of units available, it becomes a little bit more valuable. So it's the idea of dwindling numbers increase value. If you think about this in terms of like gold and silver, those are scarce metals or rare metals, and those are obviously the most valuable metals on Earth. So limited resources are more desired. And today we are on number 4. And number 4 is, in the book, it's referred to as consensus. You can also think about this as like social compliance. And one of the best examples of this as an influence pattern is to actually look at like, if you watch, he's actually a hypnotist, but if you watch this documentary on Netflix, it's called The Push by Darren Brown. It's a good example of this. He's very much interested in the subject of social compliance, and he does an example where he has he has a line of 7 chairs in a room, and he has 3 actors that are already in the room. In psychology experiments, they would call these people Confederates. That's just a term in a psychology book, has nothing to do with the Civil War. And so they have 3 of these people are occupying chairs. They're holding clipboards. They're filling out forms, and they're all standing. And then they bring in one person who is not an actor into the room. They tell them to fill out the form. But as that person comes in, there's a bell that rings. And when the bell rings, the 3 people that are actors all sit down, and the other person has not been given any instructions. And what happens is, invariably, the person that is not the actor will follow suit and sit when the bell rings, and then stand again when the bell rings again. And so the numbers are like 95% of people will end up complying with the social pressure of doing the same thing that a group is doing, all the way to the point where they will eventually fill all 7 chairs with non-actors, or I'm sorry, the remaining 4 chairs with non-actors. And then they'll remove the actors from the room, and the people will continue to sit and stand when the bell rings, even after they've left. So were you able to follow that, Andros? Was that clear with that?
Yeah. So basically it's like there's an innate sort of pattern following that humans do, where if they see a pattern developing, they'll tend to follow the pattern regardless of whether or not it makes any sense.
Exactly. And if you think about like the old stories where people would witness a crime and somebody yelling for help, and then everybody looks around to all the other witnesses and nobody's doing anything, so nobody does anything because they think the next person's going to do it, or they just they follow the crowd. So unless you yell something like fire, they always say, that's the only thing that really drives people out of their little trance state and breaks that kind of social conformity. But it's the idea that we are more comfortable conforming with the people around us than standing out as an individual in a lot of ways. Because if we take action against the crowd, then we're forcing ourselves to stand out.
By the way, voting is this Tuesday, everybody. So don't forget to vote. No, that's just.
But you don't even live in the United States.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I just vote. Just vote. That has nothing to do with anything. It's just stand up and vote. Do something. Stand up against the crowd. I don't know. I don't know what that relates to anything. It's just reminded me of that.
The other example in the book is this idea that there is. They talk about the hotel business, and they talk about this story where when you're in a hotel. You've often noticed probably that you'll find like a card in the bathroom, and the card will be there with the intention to try to persuade guests to reuse their towels and their linens. And most of those cards will say something about like, do this to protect the environment. And that's usually a strong message. And when they have a card like that kind of brings attention to environmental advocacy and brings attention to the cause, it tends to increase compliance by 35%. But when they tried this as an experiment and they changed the language to say instead that people who check into a hotel for 4 nights or longer will reuse their towels at some point during their stay. And they said 75% of people that do that will reuse the towels. So when they did that and they said that 75% of people would do this, it actually ended up increasing reuse of towels by another 26%. So instead of that 35% level, it went up to 61%. And then when they took this a step further and they said that people in this hotel room that you're staying in, 75% of people that stayed in this room have reused their towel. You know what's interesting is if you tell somebody that they were going to do that, like if I was to tell you, Andros, that, do you think that would influence you? What would you say?
I would say probably, because it's social proof. It's like, oh, well, everyone else is doing it. So, yeah.
It's true. But I think most people, when asked the question whether or not that would influence them, they'll be like, no, that's not going to influence me. I don't think that's going to have any influence on me whatsoever. But the results of the experiment were that it increased it by another 33% when they put that messaging on it. So the messaging with specificness was the most effective at getting people to reuse their towels. And we've talked about this, I think, on prior shows about like herd mentality. Yeah. People love to follow the herd. And so and even we talked about like when you were selling door to door, if you tell people that their neighbors are buying, that's the most powerful way to increase sales, is to tell people that their neighbors are buying the same product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've used that technique myself when I was a telemarketer. But, it works both ways. Here's an interesting story. Back when I was working for the market research company, we did test screenings for basically every single studio, including Miramax. And back then, this was in the 90s, people knew all about Harvey Weinstein. They knew what was going on. It was kind of a running, I wouldn't say a running joke, but everyone knew, right? Everybody knew. And so one of the reasons that a lot of women never said anything was because they would wait to see what happened if any women did stand up. And usually what would happen is one woman would stand up and say something, and then systematically they would watch their career get destroyed. And or they wouldn't be believed. And so other women kind of took that as a cue to not do anything about it or not say anything about it.
That's a great point though, Andros, because we're seeing this again and again with even like we think about Bill Cosby, like think about the victims of him and how it took the first one to stand up and risk her career before the other victims would come up and
Right.
say the same thing. So it's like they're waiting for the social cue that it's going to be okay. They're waiting for they don't want to be the only one. They don't want to be that individual standing outside of the norm. So
yeah, and it's hard to be that first, the first man on the moon. You want to be able to, everybody thinks that they're a trailblazer, but really, if you don't want to be the one to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong, or buy this product or whatever. I mean, if you're the first one there, most people are going to look at you funny until there's like the 100th monkey, which if you don't know that analogy, it's a I don't know if this is a parable or if this actually happened, but it's the story is that there was a monkey that used to live in this tribe, and the monkeys would happen is they would take fruit that would fall from the tree, and they would just pick it up and eat it, and it would be covered with dirt and ants. And one monkey got the idea to go down to the river and start washing the fruit off. And the other monkeys didn't pay any attention to it. But then one day another monkey showed up, and another monkey, and then pretty soon there was like this tipping point where the 100th monkey went down to the river to wash his fruit off, and pretty soon everybody did that, and it became the social norm in that monkey tribe. So but this is kind of how society works, right? Where there are, in fact, I've got a funny story. This is true. I was working for a software company doing some work for them, and it was all Dutch people. And they had some hard-boiled eggs. They eat a lot of hard-boiled eggs at lunch. And so the woman who worked in the office was trying to get rid of the last hard-boiled egg. So I told her, I said, why don't you just put it in the fridge? And there was some other people kind of cleaning up from lunch, and they all kind of looked at me, and she goes, well, we don't do that because it's still warm. And I go, yeah, but if you put it in the fridge, it will get cooler, right? And she goes, yeah, but we don't put warm eggs in the fridge. And everyone, I looked around, and the other people are kind of like shaking their head, like, no, we don't really do that. And I'm like, well, why not? And one of the guys just looked at me and he goes, because we just don't do that here. Yeah. And it's just like this social thing. And so there's like interesting things here. Like you don't ask for a doggy bag, for instance. You don't ask for like a to-go container here, right? And there's no reason for it. It's just like that's just how it's done. So if I'm the guy,
let me ask you this: do you find yourself now complying with the new social norms, or are you being a rebel and are you still asking for doggy bags?
I will actually purposefully hard-boiled eggs and then just put them in the fridge in front of everybody and just stare at them with like a.
You are one of the few that likes that individuality.
Heck yeah, man. It's got me into trouble, but you know what? That's how I roll. But anyway, this is all bringing up a good point because what this says at the end of the day, and especially if you are a product or a service and you're doing some advertising around it, is you want social proof, right? You want to be able to show that like even if you're like some innovative, groundbreaking product, you want to do it in a way that basically shows the world that everybody is doing this. This is not this is new, but it's not new. And we tend to we are a social animal that also likes conformity, whether we like to admit it or not. And so in any type of advertising or the type of thing that you do, you've got to have this social proof, and otherwise you're not going to make it, because if it's too weird or too out of the ordinary, people aren't going to gravitate towards it. But I love David Lynch films, but would you rather be David Lynch, be the producer of a David Lynch film, or the producer of Harry Potter?
Would you rather be the producer of a David Lynch film or a Michael Bay film? And that's like an interesting question because that brings up weird ethical things.
Yes, it does.
I got a few more things I wanted to bring up here, though. So like examples of this in the real world, I mean, you've seen this on commercials all the time. 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste, things like that. But then testimonials. So again, I come from the seminar world. Like every time there's a presenter on stage, during the presentation, you're going to see weaved in testimonial stories. They're short stories that are there for the reason of providing social proof that this has worked for people like you. People like you that were down on their luck, not having success. They used my program. All of a sudden, they had tremendous success. Things like that. If you've also been to a seminar, you've probably seen this. A lot of times, they will have a line of like a panel, like a line of like 6 chairs. They have 6 guests that come on the stage. All of them were usually past clients of the presenter. And all of them are there essentially to provide social proof that this program worked for them and to share their story briefly. But it's showing you that people connect to these stories and they want to see that whatever you are selling has worked for other people. If you're B2B, a lot of times you'll see this on websites that they'll have like a page that says companies I've worked with, and they'll have a list of the biggest companies they've worked with. And companies like to see that someone they're going to do business with has worked with other major companies. So all of this stuff, social proof and consensus, it all shows up all the time in marketing.
Whether we realize it or not. So how would you handle something like, let's say that you have a brand new product that has never been like, it's kind of new to the market, and you have to kind of get people interested in an idea that they're not used to. How would you go about doing that if you don't have
what kind of a product are we talking about here? Are we talking about a product that is to make money? Are we talking about a consumer product? Like, give me an example of what kind of product.
Let's just say like it's a left nostril inhaler.
A left nostril inhaler. Well, number one, I want to establish that it's that there's a large group of people that are using this inhaler, and then second is it's like I want to create those testimonial stories. So, if you've ever watched television, you've seen the infomercials. They're very much structured in the same ways that you would see on like a stage from a seminar sales point. And if you watch these, you're going to have people come on and tell their stories about how they use this product and how it changed their life. So I want a story about the person that could barely breathe out of their nose. They had severe asthma. Because of it, they couldn't go to work. They were making less money. All of a sudden, they put this nostril inhaler in their nose. Now they're breathing clear. They're running marathons. All of a sudden, their income has gone from, $500 a month. Now they're making $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month because they are able to breathe better. And not only that, but the quality of the air that they're breathing, it's bringing in new levels of oxygen, which is giving them an oxygen high. So they feel better about themselves, and it's transforming their entire existence.
They're able to pick up their grandchildren. They're able to,
basically have better relationships.
Right. But side effects may include dizziness, unable to drive a vehicle.
Let's not focus
death
on
in some cases.
Andros. Let's focus on the fact that these people are breathing and they've transformed their lives. Never mind that.
I know by law, I have to actually read the list of side effects at the end of.
You got to do it really fast, though. So you got to. I got
to do it really fast. I know.
500%. Yeah.
I will have to do that in the ad copy. But no, I mean, you bring up
that's all I got for this influence topic. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I mean, that's the main meat of what we're talking about. I think I've covered here. So
yeah, no, and that's all really. So basically, when you boil it down, it's like, when you're doing this type of marketing, you have to convince the end user that all the neighbors are using it and you're kind of the only person that's not. And if you have an ailment, then this is the thing that will fix it. Take this guy, look at him. He used it and now he's, breathing better with his left nostril inhaler.
Yeah, and look at the guy that was using the generic inhaler. That guy is like in a hospital.
Oh, that dude! He doesn't have a left nostril anymore. It just
on one of those voice boxes because he can't do well. And
poor bastard.
He's been using brand X.
So, but you know what I would never use an off brand of ever. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
You know what that means? It is time for the Sex Robot Report. That's right. Give me some horn. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it, baby. All right. So this comes from RT.com. That's RT stands for Russia Today. So Vladimir Putin's paper. So we all know that it's very trustworthy. Let's see. This story is world's first sex robot resort lets customers pay to take bots, quote, virginity. Yes. As sex robots take over the world's oldest profession, robot brothel madams must set themselves up apart. In California, the world's only, quote, consent-focused robot brothel, unquote, will let consumers pay to take a robot's, quote, virginity. I like how they say that. First of all, it's in California. Second of all, it's a consent-focused robot brothel.
Yeah, I was focused on that consent focus. Oh, okay. I'm like, wow. Okay. So they're very progressive with this brothel.
Yeah. Really? That robot lets you do that? Yes. I got consent. That's so.
The robot gave me permission.
Robot brothels have been popping up all over Europe since 2017. I live in Europe. I've yet to see one. But Americans haven't exactly jumped on the trend quite yet. Still, Unicorn, owner of Eve's Robot Dreams, thinks the demand is going to be big. And so with that, they are opening up in West Hollywood, California, a chance to let men take a, quote, robot's virginity for $10,000. And afterwards, the robot will continue to work in the brothel.
How do we know that this is truly a virgin robot? I mean, are we going to watch it come off the assembly line, or like how do I verify this?
I would assume that they will tell you. It'll be in the algorithm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It has to be true, and this comes from a Vladimir Putin endorsed news source, so we do know that it's true.
That's right. That's right.
We'll be in jeopardy otherwise.
And
we think differently.
And I'm just gonna skip the rest of the article and just go right to the one sentence that really just jumped out and hit me in the noggin. That sentence is: guests can have an orgy with multiple robots if they choose. That's it for the sex robot.
Oh, wow. What was that, unicorn or something?
Yeah, it was
also definitely a birth name.
Unicorn. Probably a burner. I guess. Oh boy.
Both were clearly on their birth certificates when they were born.
Yeah. I would double check this, just to see if this is legit. But
we have not run this by Snopes yet, or had fact checkers double check our information. But this does come from RT. So,
but here's the thing: for $10,000 though, this is the kind of the funny thing. For $10,000, you could have a, quote, virgin robot, but can't you just buy one for that? I mean, get your own. I don't know.
I don't know what the price point is. This is a new market, so I'm still learning about the market. You're teaching me.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that I don't know if you know this or not, but there are a lot of people who are actually buying virginity from their sex robots. It's, in fact, I can give you several testimonials and show you.
All of my neighbors have already been doing it.
Every single one of your neighbors. Your wife actually has already signed up. So, what are you waiting for?
Crap. You have a form? I'll fill it out now.
Give me that form. All right. So, finally, closing out the show, we got some geek news for you. We've been a little short on geek news over the past few weeks, but we got some good ones.
That's right. First and foremost, we got some Avatar sequel news. Very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of James Cameron, so I'm actually one of the few people that is openly excited for the Avatar sequels, sort of. I mean, I don't even know that I'm that excited, but I have faith because it comes from James Cameron, and he's pretty all director. So Sigourney Weaver recently tweeted, I believe, that she was in the middle of filming Avatar 4 and 5, which is interesting because James Cameron had previously stated, no, well, first of all, we've known this for a while that they are planning 4 Avatar sequels, not 1 Avatar sequel, but 4 Avatar sequels. But James Cameron previously had stated that Avatar 2 and 3 would film back to back, and then they would see how they do before they film 4 and 5. But apparently it's leaked that he's impatient and he's already decided that these movies are going to be a hit.
No, you know what happened is he made so much money that he actually built the time machine from Terminator, went back in time, went forward in time, realized the movies were going to be a big success, then went back in time and just made the movies.
Well, the thing is, he's got Avatar did really well internationally. So even if it bombs in the US, it's probably going to make a killing overseas.
Yeah.
These movies did really, really well internationally. Also, the 4 Avatar titles have leaked online. So I'm going to read these titles off. Now, I don't know. These are actually not confirmed. So these are a rumor that was leaked out. And these might be working titles for all I know. But the Avatar titles are Avatar, The Way of Water, Avatar, The Seed Bearer, Avatar: The Tolkien Rider, and Avatar: The Quest of Awa.
These sound like Cirque du Soleil shows, man.
I'd go to the Cirque du Soleil show.
Hell yeah, I would.
Bam.
Oh, yes.
Other geek news. It's been rumored that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 has been put on the shelf, at least temporarily. And the rumor now is that instead of Guardians 3, they're going to replace that release date with Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah, that's a damn shame, man. I gotta tell you, that is a damn shame. I mean, Richard Gunn or yeah, he's gonna be okay. I mean, he's gonna be fine because now he's doing
Suicide Squad 2. He's going to be writing. I think I read that he will officially be directing also Suicide Squad 2 now.
Yeah, and that's that. And you know what? I actually now I want to see that movie. That's like I had no interest in it.
I despised the first Suicide Squad movie. I thought it was horrible. But now I will go see Suicide Squad 2 just because of this. So yes, I agree.
Yeah, and so there may not be a Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy. It may not ever happen, which would really be a damn shame. So it may be shelved permanently, which
really could be. I agree with you.
Yeah, that would
last story though. Last story before we wrap up here is Gladiator 2. Ridley Scott, the director of Gladiator, came out and said that he is moving forward on Gladiator 2. Unfortunately, he is not going with the previously leaked premise that it was going to be Maximus coming in the afterlife and battling someone in the afterlife.
Now, actually, it is a little bit deeper. So, for those of you who don't know, there was actually a sequel to Gladiator that was written by Nick Cave of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and it was called Christ Killer, and it was about Maximus coming back through different battles and moments in history, and one of those moments would be that he's actually one of the guards that kills Jesus on the cross, and then he goes through time fighting in different battles. Sounds mental. It sounds mental.
I did not know the details on that.
You find the stuff online.
The news story, though, is that it's going to be based on, I guess he saves, I kind of remember, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but he saves a kid in that movie. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be the story of the kid that he saves in his journey from a kid to a man to a gladiator.
Ridley Scott, if you are one of our 7 listeners, please just make another Alien film. Really, please. Just do that. So I got one last story. Actually, I've been saving this. This is you don't know this. This is my favorite story of the week. There is a Star Trek animated show that is being developed for CBS All Access. However, this is a comedy Star Trek animated series, and it's being written by one of the writers of Rick and Morty. So, Yeah,
That's
Mike
promising.
McCann, who's one of the writers.
Okay, I feel like we kind of just got this though with the Orville by Seth MacFarlane. I mean, I don't really watch that show, but I guess they didn't have the official Star Trek license right. So now we're getting a show that's licensed with Star Trek and by the Rick and Morty writers, which will be I think it'll be funnier than personally. I think they're funnier than Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the show, but this is going to be called Star Trek Lower Decks. And it's basically about the people who put the yellow cartridges in the food replicator so a banana can come out on the other end. So it's basically like the guys who just kind of like, the red shirts who, because whenever they beam down to a planet, there's like Kirk and McCoy and Spock and some guy we don't know in a red shirt, and you're like, you're the guy who's going to get eaten by the alien. So it's
the guy that operates the holodeck.
Not even the guy who operates the holodeck. It's like the guy who like makes the food happen for the guy who does the holodeck. So the people that we never see who are just like underneath and are just like they're throwing beans at each other all day. They're bored. They don't get to do anything.
Or the people like during the space battles where the ship gets shot and you see people that are like getting like blown across the room, like that's them.
Yeah, exactly. Like just So people who occasionally, if they need a dead body or they need something like that is my favorite geek news of the week because I want to see that show right now. I'm tired of watching reruns of Rick and Morty, although I'm not. I'm watching them all again. God,
We're getting closer to Rick and Morty season 4, and Black Mirror season 4 is rumored to be released hopefully in December, although I've heard that it may be pushed back into 2019. I'm a big Black Mirror fan, so that's the one I'm looking forward to this year anyway, potentially this year.
Yeah, and another one I'm looking forward to, if you haven't seen it, it's a German show called Dark, which is it's like David Lynch meets Stranger Things, and it's German. It's mental. It is. If you haven't seen that Dark on Netflix, it is definitely worth your time. There's a lot of characters to follow. It's like worse than Game of Thrones, but in that regard. But it's a weird, interesting show. So it's my recommendation of the week.
I'll check it out. Do we have a book report segment this week, Andros? Did you read a book this week?
I did, and so finally, in closing, I'm going to talk about a book that both you and I have read, and it is Gary Vaynerchuk's Jab, Jab, Right Hook. So,
do we have the book report music?
We do. Here we go.
Okay, because I got to get into the mood before we talk about a book.
All right. There we go. It was
a lot more prepared last week. It was a lot more impressive last week.
I know. I just wasn't ready. But Jab, Jab, Right Hook is it explains how managers and marketers and small businesses can capitalize on social media. So really, he kind of wrote this book as a way to explain how people need to get into social media as a company and as a business if you haven't already. So in that sense, even though the book is fairly new, it is almost a little dated at this point.
It's not that new. I think it was like 2014, so it's actually already like 4 years old.
Yeah. But it talks about where, that basically social media is important. And here's there's a few tips and tricks on how to make social media work for you. So social media, and the title comes from the idea of like boxing, where you a boxing technique where you jab, 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 and then you give the right hook to knock them down. It's also a comedy. It's a comedy reference, because in comedy you do these little jokes and then you hit them with the right hook to knock them out. So
the metaphor kind of my understanding, the metaphor is that when he says jab, 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 what he's saying is you're giving like pure value without asking for anything in return. So he's like value, 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 value. Now ask for something. So you have to give like 4 times before you ask someone to take an action or before you pitch them on something. So it's like you have to give 4 times the value to every one offer that you make.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in this day and age. And the first part of the book is basically him talking about the rise of social media and how it took 38 years to reach 50 million people with radio, TV. Took only 13 million people, and with Instagram, it only took a year and a half. So, social media is definitely something that you need to be.
We're in a new world, man. We are in a new world, and I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk. I kind of forget that book in particular. I've read a lot of his books, but he talks a lot about the idea of like attention arbitrage, the buying and selling of attention, and he'll even say that he doesn't care if Facebook goes away like tomorrow. The point, I mean, he talks about Facebook a lot now, but the point is that the attention, at least up until maybe recently, it's dying down a little bit now, but the attention is on Facebook, and wherever the attention is, that's where he focuses his marketing efforts on. And it's about
exactly
buying the attention on Facebook through Facebook advertising.
And that's actually one of the things that he really hits upon, which is that a great marketing campaign really is about content more than anything else. So it's not just about repetitiveness. It's about creating, you've got to engross people in a story that provides brand exposure and ideally leads to the climax, which is the sale, right? So that's really about, you've got to focus in on how the content is, but the content has also got to represent the brand. So that is, especially in the days of DVR and ad blocking, if you don't have good content with your brand, then you won't make it. And it's got to look native. It's got to look like it's seamless with whatever somebody's doing during their day.
Exactly. Yeah, he actually has a lot of good examples in the book. So it's kind of a technical book where he gives a lot of sample posts and things. And he does have a whole section on native versus non-native ads. And the idea is that if you're going to have a promotional post, you want it to look like it belongs with everything else on there. So you don't want your advertisement to scream that I'm an ad. You want it to look like it's a piece of content because it's seamless. It's like the idea of having like a sponsored article in the middle of a blog. It looks organic in that situation. Whereas if you just had a big display banner in the middle of a blog, it screams I'm an ad. So there's a lot of examples in that book, so it's kind of a technical manual in that regard too.
Yeah, and he does get into that quite a bit, where based on how the content performs, it does something. He talks about edge rank on Facebook, and that gets into a whole technical thing. But basically, how if the content is seamless into someone's stream, so it looks as if it belongs between a picture of someone's kids and a picture of someone's food, then you can edge your content to make it stick out more. And so that's part of the thing, is create content that basically does look like it belongs right in the feed. Then he gets into hashtags and Twitter specifically. And this is kind of interesting because he talks about Twitter, but Twitter, I don't think it's as strong as a platform as it used to be, even just a few years ago. But one of the things he talks about, for instance, is something called trendjacking. And trendjacking is where you take a popular issue and you create content around that particular topic. So if you go to twitter.com, you can see everything that's trending right at that moment. And so creating some content that's specific for a particular hashtag for that day, that will help boost your content, especially hashtags. And he talks about a little bit about hashtags. And if you don't know what a hashtag are, it's a way to categorize tweets and other type of on other platforms as well. So you can use.
And networks where hashtags matter are Twitter, number one. Instagram is a big hashtag network.
Yeah.
LinkedIn has actually started to adopt them more, like in the last couple months, because they've introduced like the hashtag. Like all of a sudden, it says you could follow these hashtags. That's a newer feature on LinkedIn. It's still not very prevalent at this point. But Instagram is also pretty hashtag centric. The thing about Twitter, Andros, is that it's not a good platform for content. Like Twitter is a conversational. Twitter's good for conversations. It's not good for content. People are there to like pretty much talk about current events and argue with each other, but they're not really there to consume content. So it's a different animal. So there's like different strategies that apply there, I would say.
Yeah, that's for sure. But one platform that is good for content, and a lot of businesses are not using it, is Pinterest. And so the nice thing about Pinterest is that you, as a company, can have a company board. You can post other people's content on your boards, but you can also integrate it with your own content and not get into any serious trouble. So he mentions the idea. I mean, it definitely is biased towards women, but it's a huge platform, and it can be used effectively for your own sales process.
Well, like my wife is on Pinterest all the time, and she always is looking for like do-it-yourself projects or crafts projects or like around the house. So like if you are a maybe not a realtor, but into construction or remodels, like people are on there looking at pictures of different like kitchens and different ideas for kind of how they can structure their living room, their house. So there is a market for it for certain industries. I think it favors like construction, crafts, things like that, where any industry where you can kind of show ideas for projects, I think would be the best use of Pinterest personally.
And in closing, his big advice is figure out what platforms are good for you, because every platform is a little bit different. Instagram is good. It's a visual platform and it skews younger. Facebook skews older. And so think about what your target demographic is. And when you figure out what that target demographic is, then because there's no one size fits all for social media marketing, try new platforms, try different things, but figure out the things that work for you best, and don't try and be like a following a trend. Be a bit of a trendsetter, but the best thing to do is be on the beginning of a trend. And it's one of those things where
herd mentality, right?
Yeah, a little bit. So anyway, so that basically covers jab, 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 right hook. Of course, read the book, support the writer. But I read this book, so you don't have to. And anything else you wanna cover on this week's episode?
Just want to give again thank you to all of our listeners and all of our donors out there. We appreciate you. We love you. Please feel free to donate to the show. It is because of you that our interns get to drink their water out of a dish.
That's right. That's right. Next week, we're going to have a big announcement. We are going to talk about our November webinar, which will be free for everybody, and what that will be about. But in the interim, we want to wish you a very, very happy day.
It's going to be a November to remember.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Marketing Geeks show has come to a close. But remember,
and we know it's hard, but we will be back next week with an all-new edition of the Marketing Geeks.
That's right. And don't forget, wherever you go, there you are.
And most importantly, spay and neuter your pets.
Yes. Next week, we will talk about the fifth step in our ongoing series. And we may throw in a seventh at some point. That's right. Thank you once again, all of our listeners. Go to our Patreon page. Please make a little donation to us. We love you for it. And connect with us on LinkedIn. Let us know what you think of the show. Give us some feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Marketing Geeks signing out.
Stay classy.